Hey, Greg. You look at this game here. They took advantage of two goals in the first half. Why do you think you guys came out a little bit slow there? And what was the response you saw in the second half there?
Yeah, we were purposeless in the first half. It's like we were going to win the game, putting together 10,000 passes and going nowhere. And that's what we said at halftime. We were down 2-0 because we deserved to be down 2-0. We had 3 shots in the first half, all of them from 25 yards away. I don't know how many touches we had inside of their box. Not many. We had 6 or 7 guys in the build and 3 to 4 guys maybe in the attack. I mean, that's never going to hurt them. They're a good enough team to manage that. Yeah, it was just so passive, and yeah, it wasn't going anywhere. You're not going to win, especially against good teams, doing that. Possession and our setup to possess is to break lines and to build speed and to attack the opposition with numbers. And the second half, we did more of that. We got more numbers higher. When we broke lines, we changed the speed of the game. People were sprinting ahead of the ball. We forced them to have to defend moving backwards instead of being very comfortable and just winning balls between the lines and playing us in the counter, which was the first half. Yeah, so the second half we put them on their heels, right? And when we put them on their heels, most teams that defend on their heels aren't as good in transition. Most teams that defend on their heels will make a mistake at some point. And if we do the aggressive, proactive work and running from the right spots and the right positions at the right time, we're also going to create goal-scoring chances. And for me, it was a proactive team with a purpose in the second half, and a team that I don't know in the first half with the ball what we were trying to achieve. So in the first half also, just defensively, we didn't execute upon our responsibility, so they were able to play wherever they wanted to play. The second half, we did a better job of collectively working together to try to make things as predictable as possible, to try to recover balls. And we were more efficient, and they had less just strings of longer possessions that they had in the first half. When you do that, that can also help you to spring a little bit of a counterattack the other way, or at least catch the opposition a little bit. So I just thought it was a better collective half in the second half with more purpose. In the first half, it lacked both collective and purposeful play on both sides of the ball.
You've lost both games to them so far this season, but it's one of those teams where you can't have lapses. I mean, you can't do that against anybody, but against these guys, you really get punished for it. You concerned watching these first 2 games against them?
I'm not concerned. Look, they're a good team, and you can't have first halves like we had today. You can't, because they're a team that can capitalize. They can capitalize on set pieces. So if we're going to not fulfill our defensive responsibilities if we're going to lose balls between lines, then they're probably going to have more set pieces. They had more in the first half than they had in the second half, I imagine. They still had one really good chance in the second half, of which we've got to clean up. But against a team like them, we've got to reduce the number of transitions. We've got to reduce the number of balls lost between their lines and just kind of purposeless possession or losses of possession unnecessarily. We've got to hurt them, and we've got to be able to do that for 90 minutes. We can't do that for 45 minutes when we're down 2-0. And the first game for me was a little bit of just an early trial, an early test for us. We were a mishmash kind of in a little bit. Eddie was in the back line. We had 2 guys that were fresh to the club. This is one that's a little bit of where you at kind of a scenario. And in the first half, we weren't there. In the second half, we were there. So the question is, can we be there for 90 minutes? And that's where we need to be when the next one comes and the next one after that.
Hey, Greg, I think one of the big tactical switches we saw in this game was playing Joseph on that right and Gabriel on the left to start the game. We've kind of seen it the other way around the last couple of games. Was there a reason for that change?
For me, if I'm being honest, it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It doesn't. It just is the intent of each player on the outside to be aggressive, to run behind, to be direct in their play, for the team to be more purposeful, to be more direct. It was... early in the season, we saw Joe on the right be a killer on the right, getting in behind and sprinting and doing that. Through this last stretch, we've seen Joe get assists on the left and do things on the right. Or sorry, not Joe, Gabe. it just comes down to the overall aggressiveness of our group and the aggressiveness of those two players because each of them can make a difference on the left or on the right. They can. I think today, the second half, the team had much more purpose, including the two of them, and they're more impactful. And I just don't know. I don't know, for our two wingers, if they're always receiving the ball at their feet, there's always a clear just defender or two defenders around them that they're going to have the kind of success that they have. And in the second half, we were able to give them better looks, one-on-one situations, or guys getting them on the run so that they're attacking aggressively, and then they have an impact on the game. We've got to do more of that. We can't. Again, I'm not interested in being a possession team for the sake of passing the ball around. We need to use possession to put the opposition on their heels, to score goals, to bury them, to make them feel like we're relentlessly coming at them, not that they can set up and be comfortable and turn us over and go the other way. That's not what we're trying to do.
Hey, Greg. In the previous 4-game stretch, you spoke quite a bit about the balance that the team had. In Ricky's return, do you feel like that balance was thrown off a little bit? And what did you get out of Ricky in his return?
A little bit thrown off, again, because at times when we're in the build and Ricky drops down to pick up the ball, we lose a number in the higher part of the field. In order to replace that number, it takes a lot of other movements to do that, and sometimes those aren't always great movements for us to actually protect ourselves against one of the better counterattacking, if not the best counterattacking team in the league. So again, I think we get to too many numbers in the build, not enough numbers in the positions to kind of unbalance and really attack, and then our attacks become less than potent. I think again, some of the spaces that we needed filled weren't filled as frequently, specifically in the first half. A little bit more maybe in the second half, and I thought we were able to take advantage. Look, it all comes down to one thing: are you in the right place at the right? And this for everybody: are you in the right place at the right time when the moment appears to punish the opposition? And if we're not, then it doesn't turn into an attack; it just turns into more passes. And that time is, against good teams and teams that sit a little bit lower at times, that time is very finite. And a lot of windows of opportunity we lost tonight. That means that we just went into more passes, and that's a team that loves counterattacking. That's death by 1,000,000 passes is what it is. That's what I said at halftime to us. It's death by 10,000 passes. We've got to play to score. We got to play to score, play to put them on their heels, as I said again. And the balance is one of the key things, because Ricky is an incredible player who you see tonight can skip through guys, who can create numerical superiorities by breaking the first line or going through. But it's going to be for us as a team finding the balance between getting Ricky high and having that action happen against the last line, and finding him in that line between the forwards and the midfielders, and losing a number ahead of the game, which means the opposition can just organize the marking of our guys high, and it makes it more difficult. So it's finding the balance of those things, because what he can do, nobody else can really do, and it's just being able to highlight those inside of the things that we're trying to do collectively is important.
Hey, Coach, just to build off of his question about Ricky, Peck seemed a lot frustrated with Ricky at the beginning of first half. On second half, is this something that you saw and talked to them about it, so they changed and made a big change for your team?
Yeah, I think Gabriel's frustration was with the group in general, because Gabriel wants to attack. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to run at people. He wants to play one-on-one. If he's going to take off and break for the depth, he wants to get played in. And in the first half, we were a lot of passes that didn't really equal attacks. And I think the frustration, that he was having was just the tempo of our game, right? And not getting ourselves into attack. I don't think it was, I think it was just specifically the collective tempo, of the thing. Attacking players that want to score goals and create chances. They want the ball early. They want it when they're running, and they want it in moments when they have the opportunity to make a difference. And I feel like we were just missing. Everybody was missing those windows in the first half, and it became kind of predictable and easy to defend us, because the numbers weren't correct and the timing wasn't correct.
Greg, you guys have done this twice now against these guys on 4th of July here. Any thoughts on potentially making this like a permanent thing?
I love the game. I don't know how much they love the game. It's that's up to the clubs to figure out if everybody's in agreement. I like the game. I just think in MLS, there's only so many opportunities you have in a season to create an environment like this where it kind of feels like a playoff atmosphere. It feels like a game bigger than just another derby or another MLS game. It feels like a potential final, or it feels like something a little more special. And in MLS, in a 34-game season, it's hard to find those types of moments. And when you can, I think you take advantage of them because it's good for the players. It's good for the players to have to go through these days, and I think it benefits them in the end when the games are really on the line and they do feel big. This is a moment that, again, you can't replicate every weekend. It's not up for me to determine whether it will continue or not continue. I like it. I just like anytime you can get a venue, we can get a venue and put 60,000 roughly into it and get some heightened emotion. It's good for the players.
Now, obviously the league's expanding. We don't know what the effect on the schedule and stuff like that will
Correct.
be. Given though it seemed like you guys had an advantage in terms of like fan support, was that enough? Like, let's just say it goes to a home and home type thing, right, where you have one game each. I mean, would you be, from your vantage point, be willing to give up that game at Dignity, whatever they call it now, and to have that home game here?
It's tough to say if it becomes one. I think it's brilliant if it's 3 games and each of us has a home and then there's one that's neutral. There's a lot of tricks to it because somebody has to lose a home game and somebody has to keep their home game when it comes to the season. It's also not really for me to say because there's a lot of people behind the scenes who have to make this game happen and have to sell tickets and have to do a lot of things to help this stadium and this game look like it did tonight, and it takes a lot of energy to do that, more so than running a home game, for example. And so I have to give a lot of credit to specifically our crew, our ticket crew, and the people working on this game, because I know, just because I sit in the meetings, and how much work it is to get something like this off. So, it goes down to a lot of decisions, a lot of factors, not just me. But again, from a competitive standpoint, I love the game because I think it has a bit of a special feeling when the guys come out and play.
Hey, Greg. I apologize if this has been asked. The LAFC's 5 to 10 minutes after kickoff turned out to be optimistic. You guys were able to move the ball, move it around. You had people working hard, struggled to penetrate, and especially on the flanks. I'm wondering what did they do so well that kept you from maybe getting what you wanted out of it, and then how did Peck in the second half, how did he kind of change that?
Yeah, you're a little late, Scott, but we'll get through it anyway. I just again, as I said earlier, I think in the first half, it was a lot of possession going nowhere, a lot of people looking for the ball at their feet, a lot of no timing, no changing rhythm, building speed, attacking the opposition. We didn't get numbers up against them. Sometimes you have to build an attack off the width. You can't always build it through the middle of the field. There's certain things where I felt like just in the first half, we didn't get much of any of it right, and it became pretty easy to defend us. And as I said earlier, it becomes against a very good counter-attacking team. It becomes death by 1,000 passes, and they utilize those losses of possessions to break out against us and put us a bit on our heels at times. The second half, what changed, I think, is just more purpose and more intent. And I think when we broke lines, we went. When we got the ball wide, we maybe got it there early, and we had some more numbers at times up against the back line, and Gabriel was able to be aggressive. I think he was waiting to see the ball more in the first half and just didn't get it. And when he did get it, he had a defender right up in his space because we didn't really have the right numbers up against the back line to give him an opportunity to work it with somebody or face up and really go at somebody. So I think we played with more intent in the second half, and we got out of mode of just passing, even though we still put a lot of passes together. I think more of our passes and more of our actions put the opposition on their heels or made them have to make some plays on the defensive side. They had to deal with things more in their box. Like I said earlier, I don't know if we had 5 touches inside their box in the first half. The second half, they had to deal with things in front of their goal, and players make mistakes. You can get goals in many, many different ways if you put the opposition under stress. And second half, I thought we did a better job of that. I thought Gabe really went after it on the right side. I thought Mickey, at times was able to get up there, obviously cause some problems on the goal, but I thought they put some stress on Hollingshead on that side that led to some mistakes and led to some moments for us. We got to be able to do that on both sides so that we get that kind of balance and stress on both sides.
All right, thanks for your time, Greg.
All right, thanks.